century, the world becomes faster and smaller, and people see it through new eyes. Life begins to change rapidly in the 20th century, and of course it changes for painting too. Paris is still the center, but what a different Paris. It's here that the whole story of what we call modern art begins. Artists flocked to Paris from all over the world, among them the young Picasso and Matisse, the two greatest artists of the 20th century. We are still coming to terms with the impact they made on the story of art. But the brave new modern world had its roots hundreds of miles to the south in the hills of Provence. The vision of one artist who understood painting in a new way changed everything. That great changer was Cezanne, and this is the countryside he lived and worked in, dominated, as you can see, by the great bulk of Mont Saint-Victoire, which he painted over 60 times. That's the real mountain. And if you want to know why he's the father of modern art, just look at what he did with it. Mont Saint-Victoire obsessed Cezanne. He moved his studio here to be near his beloved mountain. His early years were dogged with repeated failure and rejection, but he persevered with his passionate desire to become an artist. Looking at nature, Cezanne saw that nothing exists in isolation. Things have colour and they have weight, and the colour and mass of each affects the weight of the others. Cezanne devised a new pictorial language, a new method of painting where blocks of colour, not lines, build up his pictures. Unlike the Impressionists, who tried to capture the single moment, he paints a scene as it is during the changes of the day. He struggled to do something completely different. His is a complex, multifaceted world where things are not what they seem. When Cezanne set up a still life, he built a landscape out of it. There's the mountain, that ginger jar, and there are the houses and the hills, those glorious rounded fruits, and there's the great swathe of the valley, the starched napkin. And he would spend days, weeks, months trying to understand the meaning of what he'd created. And although the fruit would rot and wither, he would never change it, because he felt that somehow all these objects were in an envelope of intimacy. He said they were conversing with one another. Relationships had been established, and that's always what he wanted to paint. You can see it's not completely realistic. I mean, look at the wonky legs of the table and the tilt of the tabletop. It's not just what he saw, but what it all meant. Cezanne's legacy to the 20th century can't be underestimated. Without him, the story that follows would never have happened. At the turn of the century, a young Spaniard arrived penniless in Paris to make his name. Pablo Picasso had boundless ambition and talent to match. He constantly changed his style, perpetually experimenting. He was about to turn the world of painting virtually upside down. There are several painters who are crucial to the story of modern art, but only one painting. And this is it. Demoiselles d'Avignon, 5 prostitutes from a notorious brothel. And when Picasso painted it in his mid-20s, he was a successful artist, selling his wistful pink and blue paintings. And then he goes out and buys this almost 8-foot square canvas. He does about 800 preparatory drawings, and he spends about 9 or 10 months. And then he calls his friends and admirers. And there is a horrified hush. I don't say anybody laughed, but several cried. They were so distressed by the sheer ugliness. Because look at what he's dared to do. He's abolished perspective. These creatures seem hewn out of the canvas. And he's destroyed the integrity of the human body. You can tell they are women, but he's been so disrespectful of them. He's twisted and turned them. What is this shape? Is it her back or her front? And those masks are truly terrifying. And above all, he's destroyed beauty. Because this is a great triumph for him, as it were, to the ferocious power of the ugly. Up to now, painters had taken it for granted that they sought to be beautiful. After Picasso, painters have an option. They can seek beauty, or they can reject it. By treating the world like a piece of paper, tearing it up, and then putting it back together at his command, Picasso had invented a new way of painting, cubism. The cubists refused to look at objects from one angle. They wanted to look from many angles, all at once. Now, this sounds very daunting. But don't be daunted. Their subjects are just the tables, the glasses, the musical instruments of cafe life, but seen through new eyes. Picasso and his fellow pioneer, Georges Braque, developed cubism together. They had found a way of painting not only what the eye sees, but what the mind knows to be there as well.